All right, what's going on, boys? We're live. UFC Fight Night breakdown. Dos Anjos against Fiziev, which starts tonight in about 6 hours. Did a lot of content this week on the channel with write-ups and the DFS show yesterday. Now we got this going on today. Then we got 2 live shows going on today. So it's going to be a busy day. But yeah, try to break it down. All the bets that I'm on that I threw in our subscriber Discord, they've moved a lot this week. But I'm at least going to let you know what I'm on. So we don't ask for much. Hit the like button. Hit that subscribe button. It's the least you could do. Fucking freeloaders. So let's go. Let's try to make some money. All right. First fight, Ronnie Lawrence against Saeed Kakramanov. Yeah, listen, Ronnie Lawrence is a good fighter, I think. He looked good against Manny Martinez. I thought he looked solid in the first couple rounds. Kind of shit the bed late, got cracked a couple times, dropped. But, still looked good in those first 2 rounds. He's not a bad fighter. I think his gas tank is a real asset. He's always going to be able to set a pace for you. He's never really going to get tired. On the feet, nothing special. He's serviceable as a striker. But the volume's going to be there. And he does have a little bit of power. But average at best. But where he really excels is on the ground, right? He's at his best when he is in the absence of space. So he likes to level change. That gets some takedowns more times than not. And he likes to hang his weight on you. Make it ugly. Get it to the ground. So all in all, I like Ronnie Lawrence. I think he's a solid prospect. Kakramanov, just as good of a gas tank as Ronnie Lawrence. And he can also set a pace. So I'm not worried there. On the feet, way more dynamic than Ronnie Lawrence, but he doesn't throw as high a volume. But he is really nice on the feet. His striking technique is good. His footwork is solid. So I expect him to have the advantage in most exchanges on the feet. His balance is excellent. He does have a background in Sambo and Judo. So his grappling is high-paced and pretty effective. And on top of that, his squeeze is pretty sick. If he can get you caught up in a submission, his squeeze is serious. So the odds opened offshore, Lawrence minus 160 right now. He's minus 120. So Kakramanov has taken some money. So a couple things to bring up. Number one, it was a really good look for Kakramanov to take that Trevin Jones fight on short notice and get the job done. He showed up, showed out, looked solid. Second thing is Ronnie Lawrence's best opponent is who to date? Probably Manny Martinez. Now, is Manny Martinez good? Yeah, he's good. He's not great. And he still managed to get dropped a couple times in the 3rd round. So that's concerning. The second thing is, I was really impressed by the way that Kakramanov looked in a loss against Umar Nurmagomedov, because he's the only one that really made the kid look human so far. So we know how he has looked against that level of competition, right? Who a lot of people think can be a potential world champion at some day. And then we know how Ronnie Lawrence looked against Manny Martinez. And I just, if I'm taking my shot, especially on a horrific betting card, this card is pretty bad, especially from a betting standpoint. He was one of the dogs I was comfortable with taking at plus 125. So I took him. I gave him out to our subs. Right now, he's down to even money on DraftKings. So there you go. Second fight, Kennedy Nzechukwu, Carl Roberson. This fight is, I don't think I'm betting this fight. Probably not, because I can't back Carl Roberson at 205. I can't bring myself to do it. He does not belong in this weight class. He's going to be at a massive size disadvantage almost all the time. So, like in this fight, 9-inch reach disadvantage, okay? So, but the only thing that Carl Roberson has going for him is Kennedy Nzechukwu sucks too. He's not that good. But talking about Roberson, I thought it was a really bad look how he got caught up in that ankle lock against Brendan Allen. That was pretty unforgivable. He's well-rounded, I guess. He can kickbox, he can grapple, but he has some big hurdles to overcome in the fight for sure. Now, Kennedy Nzechukwu sucks. Not very good himself. He's got some size and power. He can be explosive at times, but the gas tank, it eventually starts to go away. And he can get through the third round, but he's way less effective in the third round. He lost that split decision last time out, but I thought he won that fight. I didn't think it was a bad performance coming off that jump KO loss. And he's a kickboxer that basically fights behind a solid jab. His takedown defense is okay. He can make his way back to his feet. And he has a 9-inch reach advantage and almost 5-inch height advantage, which is substantial. So the odds opened him offshore minus 125. Since then, the line has moved about 20 cents. Now he is minus 145. I'm going to pick him to win the fight, but I'm not betting that fight. Cody Brundage, Tresean Gore, clash of styles. We faded Tresean Gore against Brian Battle. That was the right move. Battle looks good. He looks further along in his progression. And Gore, in a lot of ways, is very much the same challenge for Cody Brundage that he just faced against Dalcha Lujanbula, right? Now, he's way more raw, I think, than Dalcha Lujanbula. But he's just as dangerous on the feet, I think, because the kid has crazy power. He destroys the body with a ton of work. He has solid clinch knees, and you don't think of him really as a wrestler. But let's be honest, his counter wrestling game has been pretty strong. His takedown defense is good. So he's durable. He could take damage. But if you end up in a fight where the pace is really insane, his cardio is not all the way there yet. He's got 2 good rounds in him, and he can make it through the third. But he's still working on his cardio. Cody Brundage, probably way more well-rounded right now of an MMA fighter, I guess. He's further along in his progression for sure than Tresean Gore is right now. But that said, if you watch that fight against Dalcha Lujanbula, Cody Brundage was getting fucking worked. Like, let's be honest, he was getting his ass beat on his way to getting finished. Okay? And then he got lucky and jumped the gilly and got the submission because they were still kind of dry, I guess. But, you know, he's probably going to get outclassed in every exchange on the feet on Saturday. Now, I wish that Gore threw more volume, but, you know, it is what it is. So if you are backing Brundage, you think that he's going to be able to control the fight on the ground for a couple rounds and lean on that wrestling and grappling advantage until Tresean Gore isn't effective on the feet anymore. That's basically your logic if you're backing Cody Brundage, right? So the odds open offshore, Brundage minus 115. Since then, Gore's now $1.40 favorite. I think that speaks volumes of where the betting market thinks Cody Brundage is right now. That this kid's got 3 pro fights coming off the Contender Series, and that line flipped past even. That tells you everything you need to know about where the betting market is right now on Cody Brundage. So, listen, he's awful on the feet, man. And I'm taking Tresean Gore here. Now, I didn't take the money line because we don't get those stupid offshore numbers. But I shot my shot with Tresean Gore inside the distance at plus 275. Now, that number is long gone. That's a big plus of being a subscriber at Run Pure. I think right now, I only have 3 sports books up right now, but just taking a look. Right now, Tresean Gore is plus 210. So, to finish inside the distance. So, you lost 70 cents of value, depending on where you shop. But yeah, I'm shooting my shot on Gore. Cody Brundage sucks. Could he wrestle fuck Tresean Gore here for 3 rounds? Yeah. Sure. The kid's raw. But from what I saw on the show and his fights, his takedown defense isn't bad. So, I'm shooting my shot. All right, so just full transparency. Wow, my nail is so sharp. I literally cut my own finger. These fat sausage hands that I have. All right, so that David Onama fight, I didn't even know was happening until late Friday night. So I didn't even look at that fight because I couldn't properly prepare for it. I couldn't tape it out the way I would like. So forget that fight. You're not going to get that breakdown here. Antonina Shevchenko versus Courtney Casey. My thoughts on this fight is who gives a fuck who wins this fight? Bet the split at 4-1 and move on. But if we're going to break it down, Shevchenko, I think, probably wins the fight. She's a way better kickboxer than Courtney Casey. She's got power in her strikes. She lands less strikes per minute than Courtney Casey, but they're way more effective than Courtney Casey because Courtney Casey has never fucking dropped anybody in 118 years that she's been in the UFC. So she's got pillow hands. She's not, Antonina Shevchenko is not going to be afraid to live in the pocket against Courtney Casey. And we know how Shevchenko loses her fights. Her takedown defense blows, right? So if Courtney Casey was a takedown threat, maybe I would be more concerned if I was backing Shevchenko. But Courtney Casey's takedowns, she has no takedown offense. So my gut reaction initially was to say take Courtney Casey because of the plus money, especially with these low-level women fights, right? I just don't think that she's probably going to win the fight. She could maybe keep it competitive on the feet. I just don't think she's going to win the fight. So the odds opened offshore, Shevchenko minus 160. She's taking about a dime. Right now she's minus 170. I'll lean Shevchenko by decision. That line was plus 125. Now it's plus 120. But you guys know me. Every single women fight from here on out that isn't the elite of the elite, maybe 6 or 7 women on earth, I'm betting the split prop every time because it's been profitable over the last year because the judging, they're lost. A lot of times they're lost. Do I think sometimes judges get bad raps? Yeah, I do. I do. Like I went back and watched that Cater Emmett fight. It was close. Do I think Cater probably won that fight 3-2? Do I think it was an absolute robbery that Josh Emmett won that fight? No. So I do think that sometimes judges get a bad rap. Sometimes they're god awful. So I'm on that split prop at 4.5 to 1 for every fight from here on out. Amin Zahabi, Ricky Tercios. Amin Zahabi is a tough guy to want to back, man. 2 MMA fights in 5 years. It's hard to back him with your money just based off the inactivity alone, right? When Firas Zahabi was just like the coach of coaches on that George St. Pierre run at TriStar, everyone talked about how good his brother was in the gym. But then you would see him fight and he would be a disappointment. He would be mediocre. And everybody would be like, that's it? That's for Firas Zahabi's brother? All right. And that was the case basically his whole career until the last fight. He looked good against Draco Rodriguez. He did. He looked solid. He's not great at anything. His striking output, his volume is lower than I would like it to be. And on top of that, he has power, but I don't think he has a ton of power. But when you watch him strike, his technique and movement is sound. I have to admit, it does look good. His takedown defense is solid. He's got a black belt submission game, but I think it's overrated based on what I've seen him do in the cage. Ricky Tercios, he had a good showing in season 29 of The Ultimate Fighter. He's been way more active in the cage. He throws more volume than Zahabi. And he can sustain a pace. The kid's cardio is stupid. If he wins the fight and it's a decision, he's going to land 170 significant strikes. The kid's cardio is stupid. He's pretty well-rounded. He does have good top control wrestling. I think his grappling is okay in exchanges. It's been, above average. So I thought that the odds, they opened offshore. Tercios was like, what, minus 180? Minus 185. And since then, the line is basically settled within 15 cents of that number. I don't think that Tercios is a world beater by any stretch, but I do think that on his best day, he's probably better than Amin Zahabi. Probably. At the same time, I'm not looking to lay 195. I'm not looking to lay 175 on the KO decision double chance either. You have to plant your flag if you're going to back this kid. And it would probably be Tercios by decision at plus 140. But did I bet that? I didn't. I lean that way, though. All right, next fight. Cynthia Calvillo against Nina Nunes Ansaroff. We've been seeing this a lot lately. Women that just don't want to fight in MMA anymore, right? I call it out usually like 3-4 fights before it happens. And then we see them drop their gloves in the middle of the cage and they walk away. I'm fully convinced that Cynthia Calvillo is going in that direction. I think she's done with fighting. She doesn't look like she wants to get punched in the face anymore. And like once you can tell that, it's over. She has basically quit in 2 straight fights. She quit one time on the stool and literally gave Gavin a fucking cardiac arrest live on the show. He lost his shit. She quit on the stool once. And the other time she just gave up, man, because she doesn't want to get punched in the face anymore. And that's an awful sign for a girl that back in the day only lost to a very high level of competition. But those days are long gone. She's a total fade. A total fade. The problem is she could be fighting the only fighter in the division that you might not want to face her against. Because Nina Ansaroff used to be a very good striker. She would beat most people on the feet. And she had very solid power. She had great technique. And she had really solid fundamentals and ridiculous volume. She threw a ton of volume, right? That was 3 years ago. Her only fight since June of 2019 was over a year ago against Mackenzie Dern, where she looked horrific. Okay. Now, I think that she's content and happy being a mom and just enjoying that man slit while her wife just absolutely destroys the world in the cage. So normally I'm like, take the shot on the dog here, but that's tough to do. And you certainly aren't back in Calvillo either after quitting in a fight twice in a row. So the odds opened offshore Calvillo minus 150. Now she's minus 140, which is hysterical considering that she's fighting a girl that's had one fight in the last 3 years. But when you quit on the stool and in the cage, people see it and they don't want to back you with their money anymore. And that's what's what. And that's why that, as crazy as it is, Nina Ansaroff took money. So you know the play for me in the fight. Fight ends by split decision at 4-1. That said, I think both the women's fights on the cards this week actually have a shot to go to end by split decision. And even though that system's up over 20 units in the last 8 months, twice in that 10-27 run, you would have went 0-10 or 0-11. So you just have to stay the course. Don't tilt your face off. Keep it status quo and move on. Bet it and forget it. Michael Johnson, Jamie Malarkey. Yeah, I'm done with seeing Michael Johnson in a cage, man. It's time for him to go away and allow somebody else coming up, a deserving fighter, to take his spot on the roster. It's time. I said in my breakdown, start a podcast, Mikey. You'll make more money than you do now, and it doesn't even have to be good. Right! We know what Michael Johnson is. Solid striker. A good and underappreciated wrestler. But he has, he has one of the lowest fight IQs I think I've ever seen in my life inside a cage. Michael Johnson. One of the lowest, one of the worst. And he's so crackable, man. Even in fights he doesn't get finished in, he gets dropped 3 times. He's so crackable. So historically, the best round has been his first round, right? But he's we say this all the time about Michael Johnson. He's winning most of the fights he's in until he loses. But he always loses now. That happens eventually. Yeah, okay, granted, it didn't happen last time out, right? But he was fighting a guy that was 81. So, Jamie Malarkey, he's looked good. Good. big for the division. His cardio tends to hold up really well. Is he a great striker? Probably not. No, but he gets the job done. And I said this yesterday. I think that his defensive striking is really, really good and old school. He always feints level changes. He always rolls his head like Robbie when he's in the pocket. And he's just giving you a different look all the time. Hands always up. His defensive striking is sound, in my opinion. He's a cautious striker. And he knows that the only way probably for Michael Johnson to steal a win here is for him to get knocked out by Michael Johnson. I don't see really. I guess Johnson can catch him in a submission, maybe. I just don't see it. I think this kid's going to stay on his feet. So the odds open offshore, Malarkey plus 130. And that line was just absurd on its face. And it's now Malarkey minus 230 in some spots. So historically, if Malarkey is losing a fight, it's against a high level of competition, right? 3 of the last 5 losses: Volkanovski, Jalen Turner. Who was the third? Brad Riddell. Those are. If you're going to have 3 losses, Volkanovski, Turner, and Riddell are not bad losses. And then he has 2 other losses. But does anybody watching the show right now fault him for losing to Alexander Volkanovski after that massacre for 25 minutes that you just saw? I mean, come on, man. There are levels. Jamie Malarkey is not there. Now, I don't think Michael Johnson's at a high level anymore, so I'm going to pick Jamie Malarkey to win the fight. I didn't really see any angle in the fight to get on other than, like, maybe taking your shot that Malarkey can catch him and drop Michael Johnson at plus 130, I guess. I wonder if Michael Johnson's tough enough to last 15 minutes with Malarkey at 3-1. I'll have to talk to Gavin about that tonight. Aside from that, nothing here. All right, Jared Vanderaa, Chase Sherman. Chase Sherman, he sucks, bro. He sucks. He sucks. The man is bad at his job. This card has a few of them, people that are bad at their jobs. Now, I don't know what it's like to show up at my job and suck at it. I assume, though, if you can get paid for it, it's pretty cool. I would assume. The kid has 3 wins in 12 fights for this promotion. That's bad. All while showing no skill set at all. Nothing that he does well at all. So you can't get rid of him, and he won't win for either. Now, he's got 1 round in him before he falls apart, which I think is really the big difference between him and Jared Vanderaa. I think he's got 1 round in him before he falls apart. He doesn't even show normal heavyweight power, right? So I don't like him. But here's the thing. Jared Vanderaa is like not much better than Chase Sherman, really, if at all. Maybe he could just stay composed for longer than Chase Sherman, maybe. But, you know, he's no great shakes at either. But, you know, like as mediocre as he's looked, I still think he's looked better than Chase Sherman. I wrote in my write-up, he walks around the cage like he's wearing a diaper with a giant deuce in it, but his striking looks as good as Sherman's does. I think that's an accurate assessment. On the ground, we know that, he's got a good game. I think he's got a black belt submission game. He's got multiple subs. The problem that he would have way more success if he attempted and got takedowns more often, because he would submit a lot of guys. If Chase Sherman's back hits the ground with time to work today, he's getting finished by ground and pound or by submission. I believe that. The question is, will Chase Sherman's back hit the ground? I don't know, but he's such a klutz that he could fall to the ground. He could get hit and then Jared Vanderaa hop on him and submit him. I just think that with odds opening at like offshore at minus 200, knowing this fight probably does not go to the distance, at 7-1, that's not a bad price on that submission prop. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit on that. I like that price, considering the chances. But outside of that, run. I like, I guess, taking the shot at 7-1 on Jared Vanderaa by submission, but run from this fight as fast as you can. Saeed Nurmagomedov, Douglas Da Silva, de Andrade. Everybody sees the last name, Nurmagomedov, and right there, the whole world thinks SDA doesn't have a shot to win the fight. Now, I disagree, because I don't know what Saeed Nurmagomedov is yet. I think he's good, but I still don't know what he is yet. And all the fucking fish on the internet are going to sit there. They're going to tell you exactly where the kid's at right now, his mental process, exactly what's going to happen in the cage. And that's why they're fucking fish. Because the truth is, since December of 2019, Nurmagomedov has had 1 minute and 45 seconds of cage time. So how do you know where he is? His dad and his coach probably know where he is. Now, he's winning early. He looks good doing it. Nice win over Stamen that early. That was surprising. The other kid's a fucking bum. All that said, how many times have you seen average fighters get early finishes in the UFC? What does it mean that you finish somebody early? Show me something. I want the cage time. I want the cage time to see where you're at. Nobody knows where you're at. You don't even know where you're at. So we saw him fight 3 rounds against Ronnie Barcelos. How'd that go? He lost. So now, listen, don't get me wrong. I understand the pedigree on the ground. I get it. He's a Nurmagomedov, right? They're all monsters. And we know that his striking is probably his best asset, and it's looked very good. I don't know if it's looked elite yet. Probably not. No. But it's looked very good. But aside from that, his level of competition has been horrific, man. Who has the kid beaten? Nobody. Cody Stamen is what? His best win? Probably. On the flip side, I think that, SDA is a scrappy veteran dude that is always going to fight for your money. He's 28-4. He's incredibly durable. He took a no. Everybody thought he was a dead duck in the first round of that fight against Sergey Morozov. Took a ton of damage. He weathered the storm. He ends up choking Sergey out in the second round. And that's just a really gutty veteran that's dangerous. And that's what this guy is. So why can't he do that again at this price? Now, is he getting long in the tooth? Yeah, but his striking is still solid. He's got power for the division. He's only had a couple fights at 135 pounds. He's never lost one of them. And his striking it's sound. And he's got a stupid overhand right. So the odds open offshore, Nurmagomedov minus 225. Since then, he's taken, I don't know, where is he at right now? Let's see where he's at right now. Wow. I knew if I waited, I'd be good. Nurmagomedov, that last name was going to be worth 65 cents from Thursday to today. So right now he's a minus $4 favorite. You can get Andrade at plus 330 now. Now listen, Nurmagomedov should be the favorite here, probably, okay? Don't get me wrong. But it shouldn't be this wide. That line is a joke. SDA is way more live than people are giving him credit for here, in my opinion anyway, if that means anything. So I actually wrote in my breakdown, I don't mind the shot on him here at plus 270, but wait, the last name's going to continue to take money. Now we're in at plus 335. I'm actually betting it right now. Small advantage plays over the long haul, boys. That's what it's all about. All right, next fight. Armin Petrosian against Kyle Barallo, I think is how you pronounce it. I don't know. The announcers barely know. Yeah, definitely a potential fight of the night candidate for sure. Looking forward to it. Initially, everybody thinks of this Barallo kid as a sick ground game and not much of anything else. Now his ground game is very, very good. Is it elite? I don't know yet. I think that his transitions are elite. I don't know if the overall ground game is elite. I have to think. I have to think about that more. That said, though, he looked so good with how he dealt with Omar Gaziev's grappling exchanges. Some of those reversals were just dumb. They were solid, man. But nobody talks about his striking, right? Everybody calls him a rag, but he really isn't. His striking is solid. I think he uses that, Machida-esque, sometimes unorthodox karate style, right? Which allows him to flow in and out of range and manage distance really well. So I like this kid a lot. Petrosian, though, looks good himself. Explosive on the feet. He throws nice volume in his exchanges. He basically uses all his limbs really well. He works the body with body kicks a ton. On the ground, though, and he carries power. On the ground, he's not good. The best thing that you can say about him on the ground is he always makes an attempt to stand and get to his feet, right? But I think that that's going to be an issue in this fight for him if he tries to post and get up like that to get back to his feet, because he'll be choked out before he even knew what happened. So the line open offshore, Baralo minus 300. He's minus 230 right now. That line was a little crazy because Petrosian he's solid. And he has taken some money, but even at plus 195, if we were talking strictly about the money line, there's probably still a little bit of value on Petrosian. But I think he's going to lose. I think that the kid that he's fighting is more well-rounded. He is a serviceable striker, and he is very good on the ground. Can Petrosian win a fight on the feet for 15 minutes? Yeah, he could. Is it a guarantee that he would? No, because I think that the kid's striking game is underrated. So I don't think it's a guarantee that he would, but I think he probably would. But if it goes to the mat, he's cooked. He's done. I was shocked that in only 8 fights into his career, 4 or more times, he's been taken down 2 to 3 to 4 times. And while he works hard to get up to his feet, like I said, it's usually him giving up his back to get there. And if that happens, this kid is going to transition to his back and submit him with the quickness, probably. It's a hard fight to figure, but I'm going to lean with Baralo by submission or decision at minus 120, or the round 3 or decision prop on FanDuel at plus 160. Because you got to find a way to get that price down. Because if we were talking only about the money line, I think that there's probably a little value on Armin Petrosian. Even still. All right. Main event. Listen, what can we say about Rafael dos Anjos that hasn't already been said? 44 fights, this dude is still getting up every day, going to the gym, absolutely killing himself, and still fighting at a very high level inside the cage. I mean, he's a credit. It's a credit to him. God bless him. And he's fought the best of the best. His run at 170 pounds, I think, was underrated based on the level of competition. So, we know what he is. He's incredibly well-rounded. His cardio is stupid good. His striking volume and power are there. He could still strike in the pocket with a lot of people in this division, I think. And on the ground, he doesn't really pull his submission game out all that much anymore, maybe, but it's still incredibly good. And as lauded as he is as a wrestler, they're probably underselling him. He is a phenomenal wrestler. So I do think that this is a very good test for us to see where Rafael Fiziev is right now. Is this kid ready to take the next step? In terms of Fiziev, we've all talked about it on this, on the DFS show, on my live betting show. He's one of my favorite prospects currently on the roster. I love this kid a lot. He he is so explosive on the feet that he's fun to watch. He could drop you dead from anywhere at any moment inside of 15 minutes. Dead. Like, you're going about your life, dead. Anywhere inside 15 minutes. So the big question is, what happens after 15 minutes? That's what we're still trying to learn about this kid. Because listen, his takedown defense is good. And is he going to submit you? No. Everybody knows if he wins this fight how he's going to win it. But his takedown defense is good, and I think good enough for him to stay on his feet for the first 3 rounds. And then after that, you would think if round 4 and 5 happen, RDA is probably going to win those rounds based off the cardio and wrestling. But I think here's my big take in this fight. If you're going to bet it, you bet Fiziev by KO at plus 235 going into the fight, because RDA is an overwhelming underdog to win the first 10 minutes of this fight. Rafael Fiziev's hand speed is on a different level than RDA. And why was Bobby Green successful against Rafael Fiziev? Because he flows in and out of the pocket really well. And he was able to get away from the damage before Fiziev was really able to crack him. But if you know anything about RDA and you've watched him fight, that is not in his DNA as a striker. He sits in the pocket, plants his feet, and throws 2 and 3 piece bolos. That's it. So he's going to be there to get hit, and the counters are coming back faster than his initial exchange. And that's why I think he's going to get dropped fucking dead inside 13 minutes. Now, if that doesn't happen, going into round 4, you have to really consider getting on RDA as a hedge, which I will. I would like to see him win one of the first 3 rounds. And I brought this up on yesterday's show too. The MMA live betting market right now is in complete disarray because sportsbooks don't know how to accurately price MMA live betting due to the state of the judging currently. We have seen a half dozen times in the last same amount of weeks where a fighter that we have thought has been up 2 rounds to none going into the 3rd was a plus 500 underdog going into the 3rd round. We bet it and we win it every fucking time, or a lot of time at least. But that shouldn't happen. But sports books don't know what to do because the judges and how they score these fights. So, going into the 4th round, if you think that RDA has won one of the first 3 rounds, he's currently plus 175. That's going to make him probably 4.5 to 1 going into the 4th round. If I had to guess, maybe lower, maybe 3.5 to 1. And at that point, I think you have to bet that. And I will bet that. We will all bet that on the show. Because you have to assume that RDA is going to win the 4th and 5th round based on cardio. So if you think that Fiziev lost one of those first 3 rounds, you take RDA at that nice plus money price. And even if you drop that Fiziev KO prop, chances are you're going to win the fight. Unless it's Fiziev wins the fight by decision, which could happen if he wins the first 3 rounds. All of them, I think. We will have to make that determination on the show. Do we think Fiziev took all 3? Do we think RDA grabbed the 1? If he grabbed 1, auto betting him. But I don't think it's going to get there. If you want my honest opinion, I think he's going to get dropped dead because of the hand speed. So I bet that KO prop at plus 235, I think. What's the number? Currently, that number sits $225. Okay. And that's it, boys. That's the card minus the David Onama fight because I didn't have time to watch the tape. Eric asks, Jay, are you pro vasectomy? Yeah. Fuck yeah, I am. I'm pro anything you want to do with your fucking body. Always. If you want to cut your arm off, have at it, bro. Who am I to say you can't cut your arm off? You get out there with a saw and you cut that off. I got my own fucking problems. I don't have the time to worry about anybody else. And aside from that, I hope your action runs pure this weekend, boys. Let's make some money. Tomorrow, Coop and I will do the NASCAR bet video probably in the morning. And then at 1 o'clock, we will do the NASCAR video on Rumpier Sports on the DFS side. Oh, and then after that, Sunday, tomorrow, the live betting show is free and on the Run Pure Bets YouTube channel at 3 o'clock. So if you guys want to come and you want to hang out and you want to try to make some money and get the whole bag, me, Coop, Diego will be there trying to do it. So I encourage you guys to come and hang out. Right now, I'm going live for 2 more shows. We got the truck race at 1:30, the live betting show for subs, and then we'll take a small break. We'll come right back at 5 o'clock for the Xfinity race and the UFC Fight Night tonight. So regardless of what you guys bet, one more thing, use the promo code BETS25 off and you'll get 25% off your first week or month. JJ and Joey have been doing really well with baseball. Spread is doing his tennis thing over the summer. Tyler's waiting for NFL season to get going for props. They are going to start doing divisional previews probably in August for you guys. And I'm a way less important piece that does some fucking outskirts content, NASCAR, UFC, until the NFL comes around. So regardless of what you guys bet, I hope your action runs pure this weekend. And let's make some money, boys. I'm out. Later.